Hello everyone, my name is Haybeck and welcome back to the Bell Valley Zoo. And yes, it has been a month or month and a half since I've uploaded. Not gonna hide that. It has been a very busy month for me between work and school and homework and life, and so I've had a lot to do. So I think I'm just gonna do a quick life recap just to let you guys know kind of what my schedule is like and videos coming out in the future. And then based on feedback I've gotten, I'm gonna try and not to dwell on like my landscape stuff too much, and kind of discuss more about my process on this habitat. So I'll be super quick. Basically, my birthday was late September. I got a bunch of PC parts, so I upgraded my PC a little bit. So on top of that, I actually had to build this habitat, which surprisingly enough only took me about 4 hours in one day. But it's just been the process of actually getting this in the editing system and doing it. See what else. I have had a bunch of projects to do. I'm actually currently doing my zoo design charrette class that I was talking about in a couple videos ago. That's what I'm doing right now, actually, filming this on the first day of it. So it's pretty exciting. And yeah, just knocking away at life. Gotten a lot of stuff done, and that's really all. I mean, you know, like I said, I don't want to go too in depth. I think since the last video, it's been too long, but over 500 subs on the channel, which is incredible. Your guys' support it seriously means so much, and I'm sorry I'm not conveying that support. You know, I feel like I should be doing better on this front, but I promise I'm getting there. I want to be uploading some more videos soon. I know the Zookeepers pack is out. Is it my favorite pack? We will get to that later, baby. But I do have that new Asia section that I was gonna start after this Great Northwest section. But I might kind of push the schedule ahead on that and try and get maybe a Zookeepers pack animal out. Just because of how recent it is. I was thinking either the Palace Cat or the Markhor. Probably the Palace Cat, since I just did a hoof stock. So that'll go in New Asia. And we'll probably get back to Great Northwest with the moose, I think is what I'm doing. So anyways, yeah. As for this habitat, for the first video being back in over a month, it does feel a little lazy, and I do apologize for that because I'm not necessarily mirroring. Well, I mean, I mirrored the beaver shelter, but I'm not mirroring the beaver habitat, but I am using pretty much all the same materials. I extended that wall, and then the pathway also looks at the raccoons, the same pathway or elevated pathway that looks at the beavers. So yeah, I wanted to create kind of like a lake, but a mini little pond almost, but it's being fed by the beaver pond. You can kind of see that with like that chain link. And I wanted to be able to convey that so we can use it as like a water-wise landscaping. You know, we're not using too much water. We're using everything that we have. And in this case, in the zoo, this was just how the water feature was. So instead of, you know, the zoo designers, I guess, only building the beaver habitat and then cutting off the stream or doing that sense, they wanted to make the most use out of the land that they had. So they thought, well, a raccoon habitat would go well right here. And in history, a lot of raccoons in the past have shared walls with beavers. Don't really know why that's the thing, but they do. So I thought I'd kind of draw inspiration from that. Throughout this habitat, you'll also notice there's probably plenty of spaces where real-life raccoons would very easily get out. So we're going to pretend like that we live in a little fantasy world where raccoons are nice and peaceful little guys, and they're not going to go anywhere. There's a couple spots in here where, yeah, I should probably fence it a little more, even if it's just as simple as like a chain link or rebar fence. That's covered in foliage just to kind of give the sensation, but to each their own. We'll play a little bit of pretend from now on. But yeah, I enjoyed doing the landscaping for this habitat. I know I mentioned that it only took me about 4 hours, and I'm not lying on that front. It really didn't take me that long. I was kind of shocked. I kind of just sat down one day because I was bored, and I was like, I really need to record. I haven't recorded. I have a YouTube channel that I started, and it's not something I want to abandon. So I sat down and I recorded, and I built this whole thing. I do have some cuts in here, just because I either forgot to record or it was on another day. And when I say this habitat took me 4 hours, it was 4 hours spread out between like 2 or 3 days, just obviously because of time. I just didn't have a lot of it. So, but yeah, other than that, it didn't take me too long at all. Another infuriating thing you'll see near the end of this is that I have an entire section where I build the backstage and I finish off that pathway and I landscape the whole chunk right there, and I add some bars and I add the overhang, and well, my cat decided to jump up on top of my PC when I wasn't looking, and she just happened to click on the power button. Shut off my whole PC. I didn't save my zoo, and it naturally cut off my recording as soon as the PC shut off. So I boot back up, I see that, I have to redo a bunch of the stuff I just did, and I was understandably very angry. But I saw I had to redo it, a lot of it, so I started redoing it, and in redoing it, I kind of got in the motion of just continuing to build, and in doing so, I completely forgot to record pretty much the rest of the build. So in the final cinematics, you're going to see a whole backstage area and the whole elevated pathing area just genuinely not or not genuinely not, it's late. You're gonna see it there, but you didn't see it in the speed build. So that was the process with that. Anyways, yeah, here I'm trying to create like a slanted fencing so that the raccoons nor the beavers can get into either habitat. I tried to kind of do a V shape so that it applied also to the beavers, and it didn't quite work. The world axis wasn't being very friendly to me, so it was getting to the point where it's kind of messing with my brain on how to turn it. So I kind of just gave up, and I realized it made sense that it would be needed for the raccoons more than it would be needed for the beavers. So I kind of just angled it in on the beaver side. Or the raccoon side. This is where my realism kicked in a little bit more. There's other areas, like I said, I'll fence off. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so I wanted to create a little shoreline with this lake where, the raccoons can go in and clean off their food before they eat it. If you've ever seen those videos of the people giving raccoons cotton candy and they go in to clean it, and it just disappears and they look all frantic. I don't really know how that's relevant. I just thought that'd be funny. But yeah, I wanted to give them a little shoreline where they could go in and swim and clean off their food that we give them in there, and I threw in a couple of the food amenities, and this was before the Zookeeper's Pack was even announced, actually. Like, I did this a while ago, but I'll go back in and I want to add the little jelly cake, because I think that would be perfect for these guys. So yeah, I'm adding the rocks around. A lot of you guys have actually highly complimented on my rocking design, or my rock layering, and I really appreciate it. I don't really know what I do, to be honest. I kind of just do what looks the most natural, because to me, taking like the biggest rocks or varying big rocks and kind of just placing them and being like, okay, that's filling in my need for what a rock formation is. It's not realistic. It's just kind of like a cylinder, or it's got a kind of shape to it. If you've ever seen rocks in real life, they're layered. They have layers to them, whether it be one big rock that's just been shipped over time, or they're ever so slowly being worn down. So there's always going to be pebbles in between them and smaller rocks, and different sections lodged into itself from years of just erosion. So being able to convey like that rock layering, it tells a story as to the history of an area. You can always tell the history of an area by how the rocks look or how the trees look, you know? So I wanted to convey in all my sites just really good rock work, and you guys have complimented me on that, and I really appreciate that, so I'm glad that's coming through. This climbing structure, this is my first ever climbing structure I've ever built in this game. I did not know where to start. The amount of footage I cut out of me trying to build one, going online, looking for inspiration, and finding no good inspiration. There's plenty of good inspiration, but inspiration that like I had the motivation to build at the time, you know? And what's funny is after going through all the inspiration, I ended up landing up on other people's Planet Zoo builds for inspiration, and that was actually better than any real life stuff. So I kind of based this off a real life Planet Zoo build. I wanted to make this climbing structure bigger. Yeah, I guess another time constraint, to be honest. It's unfortunate, but she's got a lot going on right now. I want to try and start getting more videos out, but just my current school schedule, I don't want to go to once a month. I think I could easily manage doing at least 2 a month. I think that's a fine schedule. But so yeah, I just was like, I want to get this climbing structure in and let it be there. And yeah, I think another big important thing is picking your foliage that applies to not only your animal but the environment you're building in. And in this case, I'm building in the European map, the European like highland, or not highlands, like valleys. But my section of the zoo is the Great Northwest. I don't want to pick anything too bright and colorful. I don't want to pick anything too vibrant and green. My main color palette is like some sages, some dark greens. I want things to very much so blend together. If you've ever been to a temperate forest or you've ever been to an evergreen forest, you'll see the ground is covered in ferns and broken sticks and different sized rocks, fallen over logs. So, but then all the plants, because you'll see all these other bushes and all these other like nettles, and they all merge together and kind of just create a green palette of just mush. And it sounds very disorienting when you say it like that, but being able to incorporate all these different colors really brings a landscape together. And you can apply this into more pristine and put together landscape. Or in this case, when you're doing a animal habitat, you want it to feel very natural. So when I'm planting in this game, I'm going through and looking at what different plants do I have that can give me this color palette. Like a big tree that I love using is the ghost gum sapling. That isn't the Great Northwest. But if you sink it in the ground enough, it gives you this really nice sage green color that helps blend together your other bushes. So if you think of it less like plants and more like painting, and how you're almost merging together these different palettes of green, and you're more than welcome to throw in other colors in there. Definitely some brighter yellows, maybe some oranges. It's just not very common in this game specifically, at least with, I guess, foliage of that color while also looking like the biome that I'm building in. So I technically just kind of stick with the greens. But yeah, that's kind of how I pick my foliage, and that's how I do it. That's how I'll do it with every habitat I do. Just match the landscape and pick a color palette. Don't, honestly, there could very well be plants that go in the temperate section or your, Great Northwest section, and they don't fit at all. Like, sure, they might be a plant that makes sense in that section, but if it doesn't match your color palette and it stands out too much, don't force yourself to use it. It's probably not going to look good. Like in this case, I use those daisies, I think, to kind of give a little bit of a white and yellow pop to the landscape, but have it be scattered enough to still add some variety. And then I went through and added some of the dry grass, and it added a little bit of that orange like I was talking about, but not enough for it to stand out and overpower the green. So yeah, I think it fits really well. And then obviously your tree selection. In this case, I just used birches, ashes, and the Douglas firs. And I think that forms it really well. You don't want to pick trees that are too wide and block too much space, but you also don't want to pick anything that doesn't narrow your sight lines. Always think of viewing your exhibit. It's like a view window. And if those trees are forming your view window, it's heavily influencing how you're seeing these animals. And it is very important in the overall design of a landscape, and especially a zoo enclosure. So that's something to think about. So I'm going to be looking at how much time I have left. Not a lot at all. So yeah, I guess I was yapping a little bit there, but I really wanted to talk about my design process because you guys have been asking. So sorry for the short video. I hope to be back soon with the Palace Cat exhibit. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Even with me not uploading for a month, you guys have been subscribing, and thank you so much. But I will see you in the next video. So bye.